Willful waste makes woeful want. To this day, I am conscious of waste. I well remember a number of years ago, my son was a teenager. I was in the bathroom. I used to buy my shampoo by the gallon. And then I would pour it in the little bottles, you know, and that was the most economical way to do it. Well, I was shaving and getting ready to take my shower, and I was transferring some of the shampoo from the gallon jug over to the little bottle so I could handle it. I spilled some of it there in the sink. So I just reached down, wiped the shampoo up from the sink, put it on my hair, and about that time, my teenage son walked in. He said, "Dad, what happened to your hair?" And I told him what had happened, and he just laughed. He said, "Well, Dad, nobody's ever going to accuse you of being wasteful." And I said, "Son, you know that nice little car you got standing out there in the driveway? It's there because we're careful about things like this." Now, my mom, with all that saying it over and over, another little thing she used to say to us, "When a task is once begun, you leave it not until it's done." And that was hammered into my mind many and many times, and I will remember it obviously until this day. She often said, "Tell the truth until it ever costeth what it will. For he who hides the wrong he does the wrong thing still." Probably the thing I'm most grateful for and proud of is what Brian said in the introduction. I'm consistent. You know, consistency is very, very important. Your word ought to be your bond. You should not need a written contract except for clarification of what they are. I learned some things very early on that did make a dramatic or a substantial difference, have a big influence on my life. For example, I well remember I milked cows as a youngster, 8 years old. Just for your information, I got to tell you, cows don't give milk. I mean, you got to fight for every drop. Well, at lunch, I don't know what you can do with that, but my job is not to tell you what to do with it. You use it as you best see fit. I mean, now that's your responsibility. Well, anyhow, at lunch during this school, I would come home and I would move the cows from one spot to another so they could get better grass, so we would have more milk. Well, I was in a big hurry to get back and play a couple of innings of softball, so I very sloppily did it, and one of the cows got loose, got in this elderly lady's garden, and ate some turnip greens. Well, you know, I apologized profusely and just told her how sorry I was and all that kind of good stuff, and I really was sorry. But when I got home, my mama said, "Son, you got to do more than apologize. This lady sells turnip greens. Now you need to go to her and ask her to estimate how many turnip greens the cow ate, how many bunches that would represent, and you got to pay her for them." Well, she estimated that there were about 8 bunches, and in those days a bunch of turnip greens was a big bunch, and they sold for a nickel a bunch. So I went to her and I said, "Well, you know, tell me what it is, and I'll pay you. It's 40 cents. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, except that in the grocery store where I worked, I made a nickel an hour. Now, that means I worked 8 hours because I did not accept my responsibility of securing that cow. Guess what I learned early on? I learned responsibility. I think that's important. Another little lesson I taught, and you see, regardless of your age, I think this lesson is more needed today than ever before. I was a Boy Scout. My instructions were you go to scout meet and then you come on home. Well, the schoolyard was next to the place we held our scout meeting, the Episcopal Church there in Yazoo City. And so a bunch of the kids decided to go over and play on the swings a while. Well, I went over there and played a few minutes, you know, and then I headed home. The next day, I got the report that some of the kids had stayed a little while longer and had destroyed some of the swings. All right? Bottom line is, my part of it was $1.15. I said, "Mom, that's not fair. I wasn't there when any of the damage was done." She said, "Son, maybe that is true. It is true. But you see, anytime you're disobedient, and I have told you what to do and you do not do it, many times there is a penalty that goes along with that." Well, I got to tell you, that $1.15 was a lot of money for me, although by then I was a little older and was now making a dime an hour, so it was, only a little less than 12 hours of work, but I'll guarantee you I listened much more carefully from that point on. Lessons in philosophy. Now, the reality is any kind of training that we give increases productivity, almost any kind of training. Remember the Hawthorne study, and they turned the lights brighter in this factory and productivity went up, and then they turned them down and productivity went up temporarily. Training, just about any kind, will do that. But over a period of time, as it sets in and gets to be old hat, we revert back to form. Unless we as individuals grow and change. And that's where we like to believe we're different. We deal with the fact that you gotta be before you can do, and you gotta do before you can have. So as we look at this, then we're gonna look at the growth factor that will make a difference. Now, I've been looking the audience over very carefully as I've been talking, and some of you probably noticed I kind of walk around a little bit. How many of you had noticed that? I have looked you over, and I'm astonished at the youth of this group. Bunch of youngsters. Nobody here is even old enough to know what I'm about to tell you, so I'll just have to go ahead and tell you. When you reach a certain age, there are chemical changes that take place in the human body. And as you know, we got a lot of pollution out there in the air. And when the chemical changes of the body meet the pollution in the air, what it does is destroy the strength of the lenses in your glasses. Well, that happened to me a few years ago, and so I went down to see my friendly optometrist, and he gave me all the tests, wrote the prescription, said, see me next Tuesday, they'll be ready. Well, the following Tuesday I walked in, he put these new bifocals on me, and said, okay, Zig, how do they feel? I said, they feel good. He said, they look good too. He said, you're on your way. Well, my car was parked about 15 or 20 feet outside of his front door. As I stepped out the front door in my new bifocals, I hid it from my car. Now, you're talking about a high-stepping dude. Old Zig is really picking them up and putting them down. Now, I didn't realize that until I drew abreast of the car, and there I was, my right leg up in there about 3.5 feet, and I saw the reflection in the window. Now, you know how you feel when you do something that's not overly bright. You look around for fear that everybody in town been watching you, and so I looked around right quick. Nobody's paying me the least bit of attention. But realizing how utterly ridiculous I must have looked, I could not help it. I just burst out laughing. And then I got excited. And the reason I got excited was that day, for the first time in my life, I realized what I do. Basically, you see, I go around this country and other countries as well, fitting people with new glasses. Because the reality is, if we're going to change that picture, we've got to also adapt to those new glasses that will make a difference. Now, I want to emphasize, these are not rose-colored glasses. I've said it before. I've said a number of times, life is tough. But when you're tough on yourself, then life will be infinitely easier on you. I also want to emphasize, neither are they rose-colored glasses. So many people walk around looking like the picture on their driver's license. Acting somewhat like the cruise director for the Titanic, maybe like somebody's licked all the red off of their candy. No, these are not rose-colored glasses. These are vision glasses which will enable you to see further and understand more. Vision glasses are enormously important. Somebody asked Helen Keller what would be worse than being blind. Without hesitation, she said, it would be infinitely worse to have perfect eyesight and no vision than the other way around. In his last year, somebody asked Dr. Albert Schweitzer, how goes it, Dr. Schweitzer? And he said, my sight grows dim, but my vision is clearer than ever. Solomon said, my people perish for lack of a vision. I believe with all my heart that's one of the basic problems, not only individually, but it is the problem that we as a society and many companies and families have. Their vision is limited, and that is unfortunate. It is even tragic. Oliver Wendell Holmes years ago said it's tragic, the loss of our natural resources. But what is even more tragic is the fact that the average American goes to their grave with their music still in them. All of us have those songs in us. Nat King Cole was on the West Coast. Early on, he got his career started as a piano player. Now, this particular night, the singer did not show. The club owner said, "Where's the singer?" Nat King Cole said, "He's not here. He's sick." The owner said, "No singer, no money." That's the night Nat King Cole became a singer. And of course the rest, as the old song goes, is history. Now, you might not be able to carry a tune, but you've got a song inside of you. And the purpose of these recordings is to get the song out, whatever it might be, so that you can sing that song. We need pictures. You know what I believe about myself when I tell people this? Sometimes they look at me as if I'm just whistling Dixie or something. I honestly believe that I'm at least 5, maybe 10 years away from reaching my peak. I feel better, more energetic, stronger, better informed than I've ever felt in my life. And the research I'm doing clearly indicates that if you remain active physically and mentally, and I still read an average of about 3 hours a day, that your creativity definitely substantially increases because you have access to all of the accumulated information and knowledge you've acquired over that period of years. I recently signed a contract, 7 years, to do a daily newspaper column. We're in 32 papers.